Hello friends, my name is Ramasu. Today we shall discuss our topic, the control scope process. Friend, today's topic is very interesting, especially if you have interest in project management or you are planning to give exam or PMP in near future. So let's start. First of all, I would request to please subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell option as well so that my videos can reach to you, and also you can follow me on the Facebook page as well. Friend, control scope is a process of the knowledge area of a scope management. This process basically comes under the phase of monitoring and controlling, and its primary purpose is to ensure that project scope remains on track by managing and controlling the changes to the project scope baseline. Now, what does that mean by scope baseline? Basically, when the scope is done, like a scope is signed off by the customer normally, so it becomes a scope baseline. Scope baseline means that you basically compare the any changes, any impact with respect to the scope baseline with respect to the signed scope of work. Like if you sit with the customer, make a scope document, sign it from the customer, and once it's signed off, so it becomes a baseline. For example, 5 modules were there in the signed scope of work, so it is the baseline. If customer wants to add one more module, so it will become a change request. So this is basically the concept of a baseline. So the process involves monitoring, evaluating and controlling any changes that may impact the project scope, objectives and deliverables. Deliverables, what is deliverable? Deliverables are those things you are going to deliver to the customer. For example, mobile application is a deliverable, website is a deliverable, any particular document is a deliverable. So that is the concept of deliverable. Objectives means that the main thing which customer wants to achieve after the completion of a project. Project scope is basically the boundaries of the things which you are going to deliver, and anything which lies under the boundaries of a scope is basically part of a scope, and anything which is out of a scope boundary is considered as a change request, or you can say out of a scope. Now, the control scope process, first thing is the reference scope baseline. A reference means, friend, first of all, we have to establish a scope baseline, which includes the approved project scope statement, work breakdown structure, and other related documentation. Whenever we start a project, we sit with the customer and we try to understand the requirement of a customer, what he wants to achieve, and after that we make the scope statement. Normally it's basically it's a work, you can think of this as a Word document in which all the requirements of a customer mention, and based on the scope statement we make the work breakdown structure, which is basically the you can think of this a divide and rule concept. Like this is the document in which we divide the whole project into smaller chunks so that you can analyze it, you can estimate it. So that is basically the scope baseline. The approved project scope statement and work breakdown structure is the scope baseline. Then monitor the project performance means that you are monitoring the project performance and progress against the scope baseline. For example, in the first month of the execution of project, you have to complete one module, for example. So you are monitoring that either you are going as per the planned performance or not. So basically it's monitoring or checking the actual performance with respect to the planned performance. If there is any variances, so you have to identify it and take the action accordingly. Change request identification means that identify and document any potential changes to the project scope. Changes can arise due to various factors such as evolving requirements, unforeseen challenges, and stakeholder requests. So that means, for example, if 5 modules were there in the signed scope of work and now customer want one more module, so it's a change request with respect to the signed scope of work. If there are any changes in the scope of work, so you have to evaluate or assess the project scope, schedule, budget, and other constraints. Constraints are the limitation. Basically, limitation means limitation in terms of time, in terms of cost. This evaluation is crucial for making informed decisions regarding whether to approve or reject the proposed changes. Basically, it is a process in which you analyze, evaluate, assess the impact of changes, and then on basis of that you can approve or change, approve or reject. So approval or rejection is basically the authority of a change control board. Normally, every big organization or generally organizations have a board called as change control board, which is basically a governing body which has the authority to accept or reject the changes. Like you have made a change request document in which the assessment of changes, like in terms of scope, time, cost, schedule, are mentioned, and change control board helps ensure that changes align with the project objectives and do not negatively impact the project constraints. So based on that, they have the authority to accept or reject the changes. Based on the evaluation and change control board review, decisions made regarding the approval or rejection of change request. Approved changes may result in adjustment to the project scope baseline as well. Like for example, one more module is required, so this is the time required, this is the cost required. If they basically approved, so basically after addition of one more module, a scope baseline will also be modified once the change request have been approved. After that, the documentation will also be updated, like project scope statement, work breakdown structure, and any other relevant documentation to maintain alignment with the modified scope. All the documents like functional scope document, scope statement, WBS, etc. will need to be modified based on the approved change request by the change control board. Then communicate the approved changes to the relevant stakeholders, especially project team members, sponsors, and other stakeholders of any modification to the project scope and reasons behind those changes as well. Because you have to mention, you have to communicate those changes so that the team should be aligned with the approved changes, and they have to add it in their development development queue as well. Track the scope changes. You must have to maintain some document like an Excel document in which you have to track that what are the changes identified and throughout the life cycle. This allows for transparency and accountability in scope management. For example, initially 5 modules were there, one more module added, then after 4 months one more module added. So in that way, basically you can think of this as an Excel sheet in which you are basically tracking and maintaining all the changes are arising in the scoping of a project. Next is the lesson learned document. Lesson learned document is basically a document from the control scope process. This information can inform future projects, enhance scope management practices, like whatever the things you have learned from the scoping or control scope, you have to mention it in the lesson learned, so that you can, if there is any wrong things, you have to mention it. If there are any positive things, so you have to mention it, so that you can avoid the wrong or negative things in the future, and you can follow, or you can pursue, or you can continuously improving the things as per the positive in the future as well. Lesson learned documents are the documents which can be used for other project managers as well in the future to improve their projects as well. So friend, control scope process is essential for maintaining project focus and ensuring that changes are systematically assessed and implemented. Effective control of project scope contributes to successful project delivery within the defined constraints. So friend, thank you. Thanks a lot for watching the video. I hope you like this video. If you like it, please share it with the friends and colleagues, and thanks a lot for watching the video.